Okay, so picture this, I'm driving 4 hours, fresh out of major surgery, totally drained, barely holding myself together. And I'm heading to my mom's cabin because, well, I thought maybe she'd, I don't know, care. But the second I pull up, she blocks the doorway and tells me I'm not wanted. I don't argue, I just leave. And honestly, that's when everything spirals into something I never could have predicted. Betrayal. Power moves. And yeah, some serious family chaos. Stick around, it gets wild. Okay, so the drive. It was hell. My hands were trembling on the steering wheel, which honestly felt like it was vibrating straight into my bones. Every bump, every tiny vibration shot up my arms and settled deep into my chest. And the incision at the base of my throat. Yeah, that was a constant reminder, every breath tugging at it like it was testing me. Reminding me I'd just had surgery 10 days ago. My doctor said, rest, no stress. Right, because that was happening. But when your mom calls, telling you the family's gathering at the lake house, you go. Even if your body screams, no. Even if you're hollowed out and shaky and feeling mortal. I was convinced, in that hazy post-op fog, that maybe this time it'd be different. Maybe seeing me, pale and fragile, would finally spark some kind of maternal instinct. Silly, I know. I pulled into the gravel driveway, and the crunch under the tires was deafening in the still woods. Sweat slicked my hands as I put the car in park, a deep breath, wincing as every little movement tugged at my stitches, fashionable scarf hiding the raw reality beneath. I stepped out, legs like lead, had to lean on the doorframe, steady myself. Grabbed my overnight bag, which felt about 5 times heavier than when I packed it. The cabin, gorgeous, timber frame overlooking the water, smoke curling lazily from the chimney. Idyllic. Inside, I could see movement behind the big bay windows. Laughter, Julian's booming voice, Patrick somewhere, and then her, Margaret, my mom. She didn't step down, didn't open her arms, just stood there. Glass of white wine in hand, hair perfect, sweater flawless. Not a line of worry, not a shred of concern, just irritation, like I was some delivery showing up late. "You're late, Lauren," she said. Swirling the wine, my voice came out raspy, tiny, strained from surgery. I had to stop a few times. I tried to step up. She didn't budge, just stared, cold, assessing, behind her. The house full of laughter and clinking glasses. The place was crowded. She pointed vaguely. Dismissing me? I whispered. "You invited me." Confusion clouding every thought, she hissed. "I didn't think you'd actually drag yourself out here looking like that." I froze, heart pounding, neck throbbing. Every step from the car to the porch suddenly monumental. Pain radiating everywhere, body exhausted, shaking. "Mom, I just need to lie down. Please, I'm in pain." Silence, agonizing silence. Then she leaned forward, sneer twisting her face. Venom sharp as ever. "Fine, you can come in. But don't get comfortable. Nobody really wants you here. Lauren, you're just a dampener on the mood. So, if you're going to mope around with your little scar, stay in the back room. It hit harder than the scalpel had. Not just rejection, the timing, my vulnerability, my pain, nothing mattered. She didn't see me. She didn't care. I gripped the bag until my knuckles went white. Throbbing neck, pounding heart, every cell screaming betrayal. No tears, no begging, just a single nod. Turned, walked back down the steps, threw the bag in the passenger seat, engine on, hands trembling, but not from weakness, from this pure, burning rage that made the pain feel almost secondary. She watched, smug, victorious, like she'd won a game I didn't even know existed. The drive back down the mountain was a blur. Tears and adrenaline mixed, lungs heaving, vision going spotty. Had to pull over 3 times just to breathe, to force my body to function. And for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Survival mode. I never thought negotiation tactics would ever save me from my own family. Then the phone, buzzing. Margaret, I let it ring. Julian, ignored. Patrick, lol. About ice. Ice. Really, I'd just driven 4 hours post-surgery, rejected at the doorstep. And now their biggest worry was cocktails. My chest tightened. Laugh caught in my throat. Bitter, harsh. Almost coughing up a lung. They weren't calling to see if I was okay. They were calling because I inconvenienced them. I was the bank, the mule, the fixer. And when I walked away, they got annoyed. With each mile putting distance between me and that cabin, something shifted. Daughters seeking love. Gone. Senior estate attorney, controlling the trust I built. Present, every bit of greed, entitlement, and neglect snapped into sharp clarity. The pain, the betrayal. It wasn't just emotional anymore. And I knew, deep down, this was just the beginning. I drove down that winding road, chest tight, hands gripping the wheel so hard I thought they'd crumple. Every few minutes I had to pull over because my breathing, it just escaped me. Hyperventilating, spots dancing in my vision, my mind running wild. And then the texts and calls. Patrick, Julian, Margaret, ice, more cocktails. My entire 4-hour ordeal, the pain, the stitches, the hollow. Trembling body, they didn't care. Not one bit. It was absurd, grotesque. Even I laughed bitter, dry, almost choking on it. How could it be this ridiculous? Tears started, catching on my scarf, running down my jaw, mixing with sweat. And for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, I forced myself to regulate, to take control of the chaos in my chest. And here's the thing I realized. In that rhythm, something was shifting. The anger, the betrayal. It wasn't just hurting me. It was sharpening me. Cold, calculated clarity creeping in through the fog of pain. I thought about all the years I had bent over backwards for them. Every cent, every hour, every ounce of energy I'd given. My dad's debts, the mortgage, consolidating, bailing them out when they couldn't or wouldn't help themselves. Julian, charming, always failing up. Patrick, indifferent, only speaking when his card declined or his console broke. And Margaret, orchestrating it all, pitting us against each other, making me the caretaker, the bank, the doormat. I'd let it slide, told myself it was love, family, duty. But right now, driving down the mountain, I saw it for what it was. Exploitation, pure and simple. The absurdity of their priorities hit me again. Ice, that's what they cared about. Drinks, comfort. My presence, my pain, my literal recovery irrelevant. They didn't see me. They saw a resource, an endless well of funds. And the more I let that sink in, the more my chest loosened. Not from relief yet, but from recognition. Recognition that I had power they'd completely underestimated. I started thinking like myself. Not just their daughter, not the one who had spent decades hoping for love and approval that never came. I thought like the senior estate attorney I am, the trustee, the one who drafted that trust they had forgotten I controlled. All those stipends, all those properties, All the auto approvals, they were mine to manage. Mine. And they'd assumed, because I loved them, because I'd raised them, that I would never use it against them, that I would remain the silent, ever-giving daughter forever. But no, not anymore. The landscape blurred past the greens and golds of the valley, stretching out below me, but my mind was sharp, slicing through every memory, every insult, every sideways glance, every time they'd belittled me while sipping scotch I paid for. Julian telling me I was too uptight. Patrick grumbling about Wi-Fi. Margaret always standing above, orchestrating the chaos. And all the while, I'd carried the weight, literally, financially, emotionally, for years. And now, driving, throbbing neck and all, the haze of narcotics and surgery, the shaking, the tears, I felt it all. Yes, but I also felt something else. The realization that their universe, their little comfortable bubble, had a crack in it. I held the map to that crack, the trust. Every account, every property, every stipulation. They thought they had power because they held my heart hostage. But they'd forgotten one thing. The bank, the mule, the fixer. They'd never understood that I controlled the ledger, the assets, the rules. And when that hit me, a slow, deliberate calm started to replace the panic, the clarity, the resolve. Each mile home, each controlled breath, reinforced it. This wasn't just emotional pain, it was strategy. It was perspective. They had used me for so long, and I had let them, but not now. Now I could see the bigger picture. Not daughters seeking approval, not caretaker, not victim. Senior estate attorney, trustee, in full control. Every overdrawn account, every indulgent request, they hadn't read the fine print. They hadn't respected the structure. They assumed family meant permanent, assumed I would never pull the rug out. They were wrong. By the time the city lights came into view, illuminating the highway ahead, my panic had diminished into a focused intensity. My neck still throbbed, my hands still shook, but the fog of helplessness had lifted. I understood my position, my power, and more than that, I understood myself. This wasn't about revenge, it was about reclaiming control, about finally seeing the truth, about preparing for what had to come next. The betrayal, the absurdity, the pain, it had all served to bring me here, clear, awake, ready, and no longer just a daughter, but the trustee. And that, oddly, felt liberating, looking back. I can't even begin to tell you how much I carried for them, financially, emotionally, everything. After my dad passed, it was like I inherited the weight of every single mismanaged dollar and forgotten bill. He was a wonderful man, but a terrible businessman. Debts everywhere. And Mom, she'd never worked a day in her life. Always thought money just appeared in her purse when she opened it. I was 27, just getting my career off the ground, student loans piling up, working 80-hour weeks, grieving, barely sleeping. And yet somehow I became the family's bank, their accountant, their crisis manager. I sold Dad's business in parts just to settle creditors. Used my own savings, the money I'd been saving for my condo, to pay off her mortgage arrears so she wouldn't be evicted. Consolidated accounts, set up payments, made spreadsheets she'd never even look at. It was exhausting, and at the time, I told myself it was love. It was family. But really, it was necessity. I had to save them. And then came Julian, 2 years older. The eternal entrepreneur, always chasing the next big idea. Whether it was a craft brewery that never brewed a drop, a crypto rig that only mined electricity bills, or whatever new venture he dreamed up. Charming, handsome, and allergic to actual labor. Mom adored him. She believed in him. And in her eyes, he was a visionary who was just unlucky. But me, the one actually doing the heavy lifting, making sure the bills were paid, ensuring the household ran, I was just the background. The one keeping everything afloat. Patrick, my younger brother, he was different. Not ambitious, just kind of inert. Gaming all day, partying all night, dropping out of college, twice tuition paid by me, of course. Living in the basement of our family home, contributing nothing but laundry and noise. And I, of course, subsidized him too. For 7 years, I was the glue holding the family together financially. I created the trust for structure, for sanity, for some kind of order. The Miller Family Living Trust. I spent 6 months drafting it, meticulously, thinking it would at least teach them a little discipline, provide a framework, assets, stipends, auto approvals, everything, so they wouldn't have to ask me for cash every week. I did it because I wanted them to be safe. I wanted them to be happy. I wanted to protect them from the chaos I had to navigate alone. But here's the thing. The more I think about it now, the more I realize they didn't see me as a person. They didn't see a daughter. They didn't see the person who had sacrificed, who had navigated their financial disasters, who had patched up the cracks in the family's life. No, they saw a resource, an endless regenerating well of money. Julian condescending, always. You're too uptight. Lauren, he'd say, sipping a scotch I paid for. You need to learn to manifest abundance like I do. And Patrick, indifferent, only spoke when his debit card failed or his console broke. And Mom, oh, Margaret, she was the architect of it all, always positioning them on pedestals, making sure I was in the pit, criticizing everything about me, my clothes, my career, my boring paperwork, my lack of a husband. She twisted the security I provided into entitlement. She believed she deserved my money simply because she existed. She believed I owed her, even though I'd practically erased myself since I was 12. The woman whose face I saw in the mirror every morning, that's who the real antagonist was. I remember those nights sitting in my apartment, staring at spreadsheets, thinking about all the money flowing out, thinking about the checks I'd written, the bills I'd covered, the times Julian would ask for more, as if it was his right, and Mom would reinforce it with that calm, condescending tone, always implying I was just being petty or uptight. And Patrick, barely acknowledging me unless he needed a favor. And yet, I kept going. Because I thought if I did, it would buy their love. If I did everything for them, maybe they'd finally appreciate me. Maybe they'd finally see me. But they didn't. They didn't care. And that realization, it's a slow burn. It didn't hit all at once. It crept in as I cataloged every action, every request, every subtle manipulation. I can't tell you how many times I explained the trust to them, trying to get them to understand it wasn't just free money. Their eyes would glaze over. They weren't listening. Not really. Only catching bits about stipends, property usage, credit limits. Free money. That's what they heard. Inheritance. They assumed it was permanent because, well, it was family. They assumed I would never pull the rug. And the more I look back, the more I realize how long I'd been conditioned to prioritize them over myself, my needs, my health, My sanity all secondary to the whims of a family that treated me like an ATM. I thought about all those times I had smiled through their condescension, nodded through their ignorance, laughed through their entitlement. The trust was supposed to be a tool to protect them, to guide them, to create fairness. But they never read the fine print. They never respected the structure. They assumed love meant compliance, obedience, access. And me, I'd let it happen. I'd let them use me as a safety net, a financial buffer, an emotional punching bag. I'd done everything to keep the family afloat, and they rewarded me with oblivious entitlement. Now, reflecting on it, the anger, the frustration, the disbelief, it all comes flooding back. Every decision I made, every dollar I allocated, every moment of my time spent securing their lives. It was like they never even saw me. And yet, through all the irritation and resentment, there's clarity too, understanding. The first step of really seeing them for who they are, and myself for who I am. Not just a daughter, not just a caretaker, but the person in control. The one who built the trust. The one who could, if she chose, assert every right and every power that had been ignored for far too long. And that, slowly, begins to shift the narrative in my mind. From helplessness to strategy, from pain to perspective, from daughter to trustee. And for the first time, I begin to feel a flicker of real, unadulterated agency. Sitting in the dark of my apartment that night, the only light coming from the soft blue glow of my monitors, I felt the first stirrings of a clarity I hadn't experienced in years. Pain throbbed in my neck, a reminder of the surgery, a sharp little nagging that somehow kept pace with the pounding of my heart. My fingers hovered over the mouse, and I could almost feel the weight of every decision about to unfold pressing down on me. I took a deep breath, a shaky, cautious inhale, and reminded myself, this is it. This is the moment I take control. First, the trust accounts. 4 checking accounts, 3 savings accounts, and 2 high-limit credit cards, all feeding into their little ecosystem, their little world that didn't see me as a person. I clicked on the primary checking account, the one Julian and Patrick relied on, without ever thinking twice about where it came from. Balance, $42,500. I stared at the number for a second, then moved the cursor. Destination Elm Miller. Holding LLC. Amount all available funds. I hesitated for maybe a heartbeat longer than I should have. Thinking, okay, this is irreversible. And then clicked, confirm. A dry, satisfied chuckle escaped my throat. My neck throbbed in protest. But it felt almost poetic, a physical echo of the mental release. Next, the credit cards. Active, available, ready to be used without consideration, without acknowledgement. I clicked through the statuses and selected suspend account. Reason lost or stolen. I watched as each one froze. Patrick's card, Julian's card, Margaret's convenience, they were all immobilized. I leaned back, letting the small victories sink in. It was quiet. Except for the hum of the computer fan, I could hear my own heartbeat loud in my ears. And yet, a strange, calming sort of satisfaction washed over me. The control was mine now. Then, the cabin. My cabin. The house I had hoped would be a sanctuary, a place to recover, a place to feel safe for once. I opened the portal for Brenda, my real estate agent, the shark I'd been nudging for years about putting it on the market. Quick email. Concise, almost clinical. Brenda, you have the listing. Put it on the MLS tomorrow. Immediate vacancy required. Lockbox code is $44.92. Price it to move. Hit send. And just like that, the property that had been a symbol of my investment, my hard work, my hope for peace was officially in play. The trap was set, 4 hours away, unsuspecting. My family had no idea what was about to hit them. I leaned back in my chair, hands brushing against the bandage on my neck, the slight sting reminding me of why I'd done this. Pain, betrayal, injustice all coalescing into focus. I whispered to the empty room, almost like it needed to hear me. You said nobody wants me there. Mom? Well, I'm taking myself and everything that belongs to me away. The words felt heavy, but liberating. I hadn't realized how much I needed this act, this assertion of autonomy, until the cursor hovered over the final confirmation on the bank transfers. And now, it was done. I sat there, the apartment still except for the faint hum of electronics, thinking through every detail. The transfers were completed, the cards frozen, the cabin listed. Everything aligned perfectly. My mind, usually racing with anxiety, now felt oddly ordered, structured. And here's the weird part, I wasn't just acting out of spite. Not entirely. There was a method, a strategy, a cold, calculated clarity that I hadn't allowed myself before. Every small click, every keystroke, every decision had been mine, not a request, not a compromise, mine. I let myself lean back fully, feeling the chair give way beneath me. For the first time in years, the sensation of power mingled with a kind of quiet awe. I could almost picture the cabin from afar, the driveway, the windows, and my family inside, oblivious to the immediate consequences that would unfold in a matter of hours. The suspense, the waiting, it was mine to orchestrate. I could almost hear Julian complaining about something trivial, Patrick asking for the Wi-Fi to be fixed, and Margaret sighing, all unaware that the entire framework of their little financial world had just shifted. I sipped the coffee I'd kept warm on the counter, the rich, bitter flavor grounding me. My hands still trembled slightly, a combination of pain, adrenaline, and maybe a bit of disbelief at my own audacity. But the shaking wasn't weakness, it was evidence. Evidence that I was alive, engaged, fully present in the execution of a plan that no one else could anticipate. No one else could interrupt. And as I scrolled through the trust interface one final time, making sure every account reflected the new reality, a small, almost imperceptible smile tugged at my lips. Every decision was deliberate, every action precise. I thought about Julian, probably assuming his daily allowance would be safe. About Patrick, thinking the emergency funds were still at his disposal. About Margaret, confident that her control over the household's resources remained intact. And yet, none of that was true anymore. I watched the screen as the cabin listing confirmed. The bank transfers verified, the credit cards frozen, and realized just how much weight had lifted off my chest. For the first time, I wasn't just reacting. I was initiating. I wasn't just defending myself. I was taking the reins. The shift from victim to orchestrator was subtle, almost surreal, and the satisfaction of that awareness, the knowledge that I was now the one holding the cards, the keys, the power, it was intoxicating. I leaned back again, letting the tension drain from my shoulders. Just a little, and thought about the hours ahead, the reactions that were inevitable, and the sense of calm that settled around me. My phone buzzed with notifications, tempting, urgent, but I ignored them. Not yet. Not until the plan fully ripened. Everything was in place, every element accounted for. And for the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt unshakable, untethered, and in control. My body ached. Yes, a dull, constant reminder of the surgery and the night's intensity. But it was tempered by something else: power, clarity, and the strange, exhilarating tastes of independence. By the time I woke up the next morning, the plan I had set in motion was quietly ticking like a bomb ready to go off. I sat with my coffee, letting the steam curl lazily up, while the apartment stayed blissfully quiet. And then the first buzz came. Margaret, I ignored it. Another text. Julian, Patrick. Each ping felt like tiny sparks, just enough to make the tension build, but not enough to distract me. I knew exactly what was coming, and I was ready. The first phone call rang. Margaret's name flashed on the screen, urgent and insistent. I put it on speaker and let it rest against the desk. She didn't start politely. Not even close. "Lauren, do you know what's happening?" The card declined. "Right now. We're at the vineyard in front of the server. Everyone can see." Her words stumbled over each other, a high-pitched rush of disbelief and panic. I didn't respond immediately. I just watched, listened, sipped my coffee, calm, steady. "Mom, you do realize I didn't touch the money for personal use, right?" I said finally. The words casual, conversational, almost like I was making an observation rather than a threat. There was a faint pause. Then the yelling started again, louder, more frantic. "You can't just do this. We have bills. How can you?" Margaret was spiraling, her voice cracking, each sentence more absurd than the last. Then came Julian, snatching the phone. "Lauren, stop playing lawyer, unfreeze the accounts. We have a chef coming tonight. You can't do this." He sounded flustered, a bit of his usual arrogance slipping as panic seeped through. I leaned back in my chair, relaxed, watching. I let it hit them fully. There's a certain power in letting people experience the chaos they've caused themselves. "There's no chef." "Julian," I said evenly. "Also, there's no wine. And maybe, while we're on the topic, can we talk about the $54,000 transferred to J&M Consulting over the past year?" There was a sharp intake of breath, almost imperceptible, but I caught it. Julian stammered, trying to explain, Mom approved it. Legitimate consulting services, totally fine." I shook my head slowly, almost amused. I didn't approve it. Unauthorized transfers to a beneficiary's private entity theft. I've given everything to a forensic accountant. Pause. "You understand that, right?" Margaret's voice rose, trembling now. "We are your family. You ungrateful." I cut her off. "You told me I wasn't wanted. You told me not to get comfortable. So, I'm making sure I'm not comfortable. And neither are you." Julian tried a softer approach, voice turning oily and persuasive. "Lauren, let's not overreact. We can discuss the consulting fee. It's just a tax thing. We were helping you." I laughed, dry, harsh, shaking my head. "Help me? You were stealing from me? Cards remain frozen, stipend canceled." "Julian, don't bother with the Range Rover. Lease canceled. Repo team notified. You can't leave." "Not yet." Margaret screamed about gas money, food, logistics. My lips twitched a small, amused reaction. "You have the cabin," I said lightly. Enjoy the leftovers. Click. Call ended. My heart was pounding. Yes, but it was that sharp, exhilarating kind of pulse you feel when control snaps into place. Every calculation and every move I had made, the perfect chaos unfolding just as I anticipated. The next few hours were an exercise in human panic. Emails came in threatening lawsuits, bargaining for small cash releases, pleading about medication. Julian called repeatedly. Texts from Patrick about trivial frustrations. I ignored everything. Each message I forwarded to David, the forensic accountant, and my legal counsel. Let them stew. Let them feel the suffocating weight of the consequences of their choices. David's report came back. It was worse than I expected, but exactly what I had suspected. Transfers to J&M Consulting were deliberate, structured, and unauthorized. Julian had forged my signature on a loan application for a second mortgage on the cabin. The bank caught it only because notarized verification was required. The felony attempt was on record. Margaret's yelling and Julian's desperation played in my mind like a film reel. I didn't interfere, didn't comment, I just observed. Then, I hit send on the cabin listing. I called Brenda, the agent. Is it ready? Hesitation, fear in her voice. Yes, photos, description, everything. But your family is still there. They'll see the sign. Go live, I said calmly, deliberately. Process server handles the notice. Sheriff ready if they resist. Everything goes simultaneously. 3 hours later. I was in a Zoom meeting when my phone vibrated violently against the desk. Margaret, Julian, Patrick, voicemail notifications. I ignored it, finished the meeting, played the voicemail. Margaret, screaming, feral, claiming a woman was putting up a sign at the cabin, threatening the property, drawing attention from neighbors. I saved it evidence, another piece of the puzzle. I dialed her back. You witch, you evil, spiteful, she shrieked. I stayed icy calm. I am recording this. Any damage to the property, criminal charges follow. You cannot sell the house. It's part of the trust. Currently insolvent due to Julian's embezzlement. I have the loan application, the bank records, everything. Silence, heavy, crushing. Then Margaret whispered, tremulous, You would send your brother to jail. You have 2 hours to vacate, if not. I hand the file to the district attorney. Leave quietly. Never ask for a penny again. File stays safe. Click. Call ended. My chest still thumped, but it wasn't fear, not panic. It was clarity, satisfaction, control. The panic, the chaos, the frantic realization of frozen accounts, canceled allowances, and the cabin for sale, it all unfolded exactly as I intended. And I sat back, calm, fully aware of the power I now held, watching the storm I had meticulously orchestrated. Sitting at my desk that evening, I finally let myself breathe. The apartment was quiet, the hum of the computer fan the only sound. I opened the trust's operating account statements and started scrolling. At first, it looked normal. Monthly stipends, bills, standard transfers, but then little withdrawals caught my eye. $850 here, $920 there. Consistently just under the $1,000 auto-approval threshold. My brow furrowed. Wait, what were they doing? I pulled up external transfers and froze. There it was. A recurring $4,500 monthly transfer to a company I'd never heard of. J&M Consulting. Registered agent Julian Miller, manager Margaret. My stomach sank, and my hands itched to type, to do something. anything. Betrayal. Right in front of me. They weren't just misusing funds, they were actively siphoning money out of a structure I had built to protect them. The anger bubbled up, but I swallowed it, knowing I had to stay clear-headed. I grabbed a legal pad and started jotting notes, writing down every transfer, every date, every pattern. I needed this documented, methodical. It wasn't just personal anymore. This was embezzlement. The trust existed to protect assets and enforce rules. By funneling money into a private LLC, they were violating the very structure I had created for their benefit and for the law. I couldn't be both investigator and victim. It would cloud my judgment. I picked up the landline, the one number they didn't bother to call because they thought it was obsolete. David answered on the second ring. "Lauren," he said, surprised. "It's Sunday. You're supposed to be recovering. I need a full forensic audit," I said, my voice steady even though my hands trembled slightly. "Trust money, personal transfers, possible commingling, any unauthorized restructuring. I need you to trace it all." There was a pause. I could hear him processing. David knew my family, knew the history, knew how much I had protected them. Did they finally cross the line? I added quietly, my eyes scanning the registration on my screen again. Yes, they erased it. I need every cent tracked, emails, text logs, if possible. Subpoenaed later. Start with the bank trails. I want clarity. I'm on it. Preliminary report by Tuesday. He said. Click. I set the phone down and stared at the screen. The silence was heavy but not empty. It was a calculated calm. The quiet before the storm. I leaned back, letting the tension settle in my chest, feeling the burn in my neck from the incision, a reminder of vulnerability, but also a marker of resilience. I had been underestimated, dismissed, treated like a source of funds, and now they had no idea what was coming. I began organizing the evidence meticulously, every bank statement, every transfer, every monthly stipend was cross-checked, notes in the margin, dates, patterns, potential witnesses, emails between them, texts requesting reimbursements for trivial luxuries, all collated. I paused, taking a sip of cold coffee, thinking about the absurdity of it all. They cared more about cocktail ice than my well-being after surgery. But that absurdity made the case even clearer. Their priorities betrayed them, and now they were leaving a trail. The more I compiled, the more clarity I gained. This wasn't just anger or emotion. This was a professional strategy. Every file I opened, every spreadsheet I highlighted, every note I scribbled reinforced a structure. I knew exactly what I needed for leverage and what I needed to prove legally. This wasn't personal revenge. It was accountability. I paused, eyes on the phone buzzing intermittently with texts and missed calls. I ignored them all. Each notification felt like a small drumbeat of panic from the other side. Margaret, Julian, Patrick. They didn't know the extent of the trap I'd set, and it felt good, in a focused, almost clinical way. I let the satisfaction settle without indulging in it. I had work to do. I started reviewing the LLC details, digging into registrations, past filings, any connection to the trust accounts. Patterns emerged, confirmations of deliberate financial manipulation. I annotated each with notes for the forensic accountant evidence for commingling. Suspicious transfers, unauthorized expenditures. Each line I highlighted, each note I wrote, added weight to the impending legal confrontation. Then, I reviewed the trust powers again. Article 4, powers of the trustee, every right, every clause, my authority spelled out. The realization hit me in waves: absolute discretion, ability to amend, revoke, or dissolve without notice. They thought they had me, thought I was just the daughter, the caretaker, the endless bank. They didn't see the professional, the legal authority, the person who could enforce the law and the trust with precision. I leaned back, feeling the thrum of adrenaline tempered by control. My incision ached, sure, and the neck pain was a sharp reminder of vulnerability, but my mind was razor sharp. I could see the path forward, step by step: document, audit, evidence, confrontation, and eventually, resolution. As the hours passed, I built a timeline, an evidence map, connecting transfers to behaviors, to actions, to intentionality. The sense of betrayal was still there, that raw sting, but it no longer clouded my judgment, it sharpened it. I could see the scope, the audacity, and the recklessness of their actions, and I could plan accordingly. Finally, I sat back in my chair, hands resting on the desk, letting the weight of everything settle. The situation was dangerous, yes, but under control. I had documentation, the forensic accountant ready, legal counsel aware. I was calm, strategic, ready to act. Each piece of evidence collected, each pattern verified, brought me closer to the confrontation that would hold them accountable. I knew the storm was coming, and I was prepared to navigate it, professional, deliberate, unstoppable. Betrayal had been the spark, clarity, strategy, and law would be the fire I wielded next. Friday morning arrived with that heavy, gray sky that kind of presses down on you. I walked into the office on the 42nd floor, the glass towering above, mahogany and leather everywhere, and honestly, I could feel the tension in my chest. I asked Robert, my mentor, to sit in on this. I needed a witness, someone to see that this wasn't just a family spat. He raised an eyebrow, adjusting his cufflinks. Are you sure you want to do this? Lauren, we can handle this via email. No, I said, smoothing the front of my blazer, feeling the faint pull where the scar on my neck was healing. They need to see me. They need to see the person they broke doesn't exist anymore. The receptionist buzzed, and just like that, they were here. Margaret first, draped in black, like she was already preparing for a funeral, face set in that mask of tragic martyrdom. Julian followed, looking nervous, darting his eyes around the room, and Patrick trailed behind, glued to his phone, hoodie slouching awkwardly. They stopped when they saw Robert, and Margaret's voice rose sharp. Who is this? I thought this was a family meeting. Why are colleagues here? This is a legal settlement. Margaret, I said, voice calm, measured. Robert is here to witness signatures. Please, sit. They sat, and I could feel the air stretch, the space across the table like a canyon. Julian jumped in immediately, old bluster creeping back. We want the accounts unlocked. This joke has gone far enough. Vendors are calling. It's embarrassing. I slid 3 thick binders across the table, one for each of them. Accounts are closed. The trust is being dissolved. Assets have been liquidated or transferred to my holding company to cover debts you incurred. Margaret slammed her hand down. You can't do that. That money was left to us. Your father wanted us taken care of, I corrected her, voice steady. He wanted you safe, not criminals. That's why we're here discussing fraud, not inheritance. I opened my own folder. In front of you is a mutual release and settlement agreement. It outlines terms of our separation. Margaret spat. I'm not signing anything. Then, calmly, I said, then Julian goes to prison. The room went dead silent. Even the hum of the building felt amplified. I picked up the copy of the loan application. Exhibit A, application for a secondary mortgage on the lakeside cabin. Applicant Julian Miller. Co-signer Lauren Miller. I looked at him. I didn't sign this. Julian. Forensic analysis confirms it. That's bank fraud, identity theft, mandatory minimum sentence. Margaret gasped. Julian stammered. Mom told me to do it. Margaret, shocked, whispered, I did no such thing. You liar, Julian shouted, pointing. Lauren would never notice. It was our money anyway. Stop, I said. One word. Slicing through the tension, both froze. I don't care whose idea it was. The signature is Julian's. Beneficiary, the LLC, managed by Margaret. Managed by... You are both liable. Patrick, you're lucky so far you're only guilty of using a stolen credit card. I leaned forward. Here's the deal. Sign the agreement. Acknowledge the trust dissolution. Acknowledge all funds due have been received. Permanent non-disparagement clause. Zero contact, no calls, texts, emails. Show up at my home or office. Restraining order. Margaret's voice trembled. Lauren, please. We have nowhere to go. Cards don't work. Figure it out. You're adults. I'm done paying for people who don't want me. One by one, they signed. Margaret's hand shook. Tears streaming, real tears, not manipulation. Julian signed without even reading, head in his hands. And Patrick, shrugging like he was signing a delivery receipt, signed last. Done, Robert said, notarizing the documents. I told them to leave. No nod, no smile, just the click of the heavy glass doors. The facade of the perfect family crumbled behind them. Margaret sobbed audibly. Julian whispered blame. Patrick shrugged into the hallway. I just sat, eyes on the skyline, breathing in the sudden quiet. You could feel the weight lift with every step they took away. The emotional gravity hit me slowly. For the first time, boundaries were real. Authority wasn't abstract. I didn't need anyone's approval. They had tried to control me through fear and entitlement, and now that power was gone, I felt exhausted. Yes, but also strangely free, calm, clear, empowered. I could finally see fully what it meant to step out of the shadow of their expectations. The room remained still for a moment after they left. I let it settle. I didn't check my phone. I didn't rush. Just the silence and me, reclaiming control over what had been mine all along. And honestly, it felt like breathing for the first time in years. It's been months since all of that went down. And honestly, life feels lighter. I've healed, not just physically, but mentally too. There's this quiet peace. No constant demands, no guilt weighing me down. I've started saying no, taking my time, actually enjoying my own space. It's kind of surreal, but freeing. And yeah, if you've stuck around, maybe hit like or subscribe, but only if you want. For me, the biggest win, I'm finally living for me, and that's priceless.